The funniest thing happened today when a young ballet student of mine saw me working on my laptop. She came to me and said, "You work?" I want to talk about the less I know, the better. Let's get into it. Tarot, the whole craft of tarot. I say it's a craft because you keep learning. I guess it's a sort of a goal. You keep learning, you keep exploring, and yes, that means gathering information, but also it means to actually use the cards and to learn every time you do a reading. So it's very much about practice, right? That's why it's a craft, it's practice. So you keep learning. But also, I realized I'm stuck in this thing. It's not stuck. I'm enjoying the hell out of it. But it's a strange phenomenon where I want decks that I don't understand. So obviously, there has to be some sort of a connection there, right? But I think I'm talking about the whole quality of the deck or decks in question, then also the strangest, weirdest, crazy out there imagery, and then the fact that there is no fixed or set system there or previously unknown system there. It's different when we're talking I'm a Rider-Waite-Smith reader using Picard for the first time, right? There's a difference there. I'm talking about I read Tarot de Marseille, Rider-Waite-Smith, and Thoth, right? I still think I might be a little less fluent in Thoth, but I still love it very much. And I think Thoth is kind of like a Rider-Waite-Smith and Marseille. Having those three systems, to me, they're the big ones. You can sort of still understand so many things because, after all, Pixie's deck and Lady Frida Harris deck, they came from the same sort of family. It's Golden Dawn. I'm actually talking about knowing that, it's from my own personal story, and then still wanting to go for crazy, outlandish decks that either mix systems, okay, or have no systems. Yeah. For instance, terrestrial tarot. I mean, honestly, you're gonna tell me that deck has a system? Oh shit, maybe. Maybe it does have a system and I just don't know. But the thing is, as someone who I call myself tarot brained, okay, tarot minded, who likes the systems, and then I think to be a really good, balanced, I guess, or, like that tarot reader, in my opinion, you do have to have basic knowledge. And by basic knowledge, I just mean that you know your system that you're working with. But then from there on, of course, that's where the magic happens. The intuition also helps to make the meanings come to life, and then also meaning coming from experience, where for instance, Five of Cups always means that particular thing for me, or tends to mean that. I have that, for instance, with the Page of Wands. Page of Wands, I was the Page of Wands for quite some time of my life, and it was during a period of time where I was making my own dance piece, and I thought that it was going to go somewhere. And it did, but it didn't go half as far as I thought it was going to get at the time. So that was my, you know, going full in, going all in, no holding back, no restrictions with the project, but then being very much the inexperienced little seedling out there who didn't know how it was going to work. So you see, then sometimes you have to let go of the big project, basically. Page of Wands, I see that very much as the shadow side of that actually wonderful, very useful, motivational, fiery energy. And it doesn't mean that the earth part of fire is negative. Not at all. It means, it has potential. but then it also at the same time means, in the courts, it's the youngest energy, at least in Rider-Waite-Smith system. There's a big chance it's not going to go very far. It might, depending on the position of the spread and the surrounding cards and just overall feeling, I guess. That that is part of that shadow, right? But here I am going on and on about this one card and one example of knowledge that I have from a specific tarot card, of its meaning. According to me, it's molded to my life. Then when I do readings for other people, I can share that knowledge with them because it's experiential knowledge or knowledge from experience, basically, right? Where I didn't get that from a book, I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say it makes sense, me having that experience with that card, with the book meaning, but I didn't get it from a book. That's where I think we can truly shine as human tarot readers. Yeah? Doing readings for another human being, trying to navigate life on this planet. So that's all great. But then, if we take away the system and we are left with only the experience and the feeling and the intuition and the imagery, which is, again, outlandish, I guess is the word here, and you feel you don't know the deck, right? Because again, main and mood decks, that's an old video of mine, but if you haven't seen it, I'll link it because it's a good one. Main decks, like Rider-Waite-Smith, my first system, I can mentally flip through the cards. I don't even need the images to do a reading for you. I have done, actually, a reading or readings at a party, which is how I got booked for the last Christmas company party. So much fun. Anyway, that was years ago. I did readings for friends and then friends of friends, etc., at a birthday party. I didn't bring my tarot cards, but everybody, once they found out I was a tarot reader, wanted a tarot reading. I had energy for it. I was up for it. So I said, fine, hand me a piece of paper and a pen and scissors. And I, did my little quickly writing down all the cards. And so cut them up. It was this big, basically, the whole deck. And shuffled, pulled out the cards. That's how I did the reading, without any imagery. Yeah? So all of that came from the mind, I guess, because you can visualize the images, but then not having them actually right in front of you, I guess it does take away from the red thread, because you're always surprised by something. Red thread, I mean, just for instance, I mean, that's very obvious for us experienced tarot readers, but seeing the very clear correlation, is that the word? Or yeah, connection between the devil card and the lover's card, for instance. Okay, but back to the weird decks, because I'm going to show you some of them. As somebody who values the systems and everything and the combination of that whole craft so much, because that is truly what makes it fun, that's where the magic is, in my opinion, I do really go out of my comfort zone with decks. And this is how I get my strange collection. This is how also I allow myself to play, because I get so much weird things from the weird decks that don't really have systems or are very strange in imagery, and in tone. But what I get out of it is that I see a part of me reflected back towards me. Because honestly, in traditional Marseille, I'm not, I'm not quite sure if I'll regret saying this, but let me just get through this. In traditional Marseille, in good old Rider-Waite-Smith, or I should say Smith-Waite, or Thoth, even though it's gorgeous and I love all of those decks and systems, I don't see myself reflected back to me. I can see myself in the cards. I can project myself in the cards because I did the work. And sometimes there definitely is unconscious or subconscious recognizing aspect to working with decks. Like I know, for instance, first time I saw the priestess card in the Thoth, I recognized that scene because I had dreamt it. And then, for instance, in the Rider-Waite-Smith, Smith-Waite, the moon card is something that I absolutely visited on the astral. So those types of experiences, yeah, even in Marseille, I'm talking about, for instance, Soul Deck. I call it Soul Deck. Crow's Magic. There's something deep inside of me that is shown to me right there. And I am trying to understand it and put the pieces together. I guess I'm just trying to obviously solve the puzzle. That's that's how I see reading tarot anyway. But because it's so close to me, I feel a deep or somehow inner part of me is being shown to me. And obviously, you're kidding, right? That is exactly what tarot is supposed to do. It's a mirror. But then you guys know what I'm talking about. You can work with one deck, let it be Smith Waite, okay, and love it to bits, but still feel like you are not that deck. And of course, you'll never find that deck, which is why I think we're always, if you're kind of into that, right? If you allow yourself to do that, we're always still searching for that one true deck that will give us all the answers and will reflect us back to ourselves completely. Without any boundaries, and that it's all perfect, it's the right mood, it's the right tone, and everything makes sense, and all the readings, you're never left with any questions. I don't think that deck really exists. I think it's a combination of different decks, which is why we have top fives, if you will. But you see, the search for the perfect deck, for the deck that will always be, fitting, we're doing that because I think we are craving actual mirror, this actual mirror. And it's the mirror, obviously, of the inside world. So, obviously, talking about crow's magic here. Now, Triunfio della Luna is a great one for me. I did definitely, though, study it as a Marseille because it was my first Marseille deck. This one, I can't truly say I'm studying it. All I can say is the images spoke to me, even though, when I got it, I was so lucky, by the way. When I got it, I had only seen a handful of images. But they. Okay, this deck is a mix between Thoth, Rider-Waite-Smith, maybe even Marseille. There is, I would say, some of that book knowledge, if you will, in there. But the images themselves, I mean, it's a true search of the inner world. And yes, the aesthetics actually matter. Because I keep calling this an ugly deck, but actually I'm head over heels in love with it. Yeah, I am. And I read with this one all the time. I also do client readings online with it. And I forgot what I was going to say, but I definitely think that is a big part of the search because you want the deck to also aesthetically align with you. Even if you claim you don't, and of course there might be some exceptions out there who really don't care what the deck looks like, but come on, to be honest. All I'm saying from my experience, of course, I don't know what you guys experience, but from my point of view, aesthetics mean a lot because this is dark symbolism. It's crazy. It's weird. It goes in all sorts of directions, and you can see anything in there that you. Am I explaining this well? It's also funny, but this deck would probably not read as well. Wow, this is weird that I'm going to admit to this, but read as well if it was white background. Because it changes the whole idea and relationship that I have about and to this deck. That's what it is. Because I see this black background, it means so much to me. Black background with flying animal in every other card, then different animal energies and weird squiggly lines and crazy things that really just seem to float in the void, etc., etc. There you go. I see this as the void. To me, the void is pitch black. It's not white. So it's my own experience or idea of what the void is, and then these flashes of colors and things and bright colors and half human, half animal, you know, creatures, energies. I'm transcended, is that the word? To another world, which I recognize as my inner world. This is what makes this deck so powerful for me. This is why I can't get enough of this deck. And so it needed to be black cards. It needed to be bright colors. It needed to be weird art that I have never seen before. I don't like computer art. Look at this deck. It's the first computer art deck, I believe, ever made. My least favorite card, always challenging me. Beautiful card, moon card. I was looking for this one not long ago. It just speaks to me. And little side note, or I mean, reverting back to what I was talking about in the beginning, it can be very, very frustrating. I know that, to try to read with a deck that you just don't understand. Of course, I would say then study is the answer, or you have another option, which is to just kind of let it go. I do have some decks that I feel I should either study or let go of, but I'm not ready to do either of those things yet. So, I mean, off the top of my head, it's just 2 decks, so it's not that bad. I definitely have let go of decks because I didn't have the time, energy, or urge at all to study them. So they didn't get a fair chance. I'll admit to that. They didn't get a fair chance, but I don't regret letting them go. Um, because I do love to study tarot. I do also love to just simply relax and read cards. So you really have to be in the right mindset and you know, have enough headspace basically to actually study a system. And the study doesn't only happen in the books, right? The study happens again in the doing, in the experiencing, in actually shuffling the cards and doing a spread and interpreting the spread and playing with the deck and then reading for somebody else, etc. You know, so all of that, it takes so much time and effort and energy. And for anybody watching who isn't a tarot reader, now you know how much effort we put into our craft, and we love it. We're supposed to love it, you see, but it's not, oh, I'm an intuitive reader and I just interpret the cards based on the images that I know nothing about. You know, there's actually esoteric meaning there. There's actually, um, the work has been put in, is what I'm trying to say. Now, this deck definitely falls into this category. There does need to be a connection with a weird deck, with a system that you either don't know or there isn't a known system. But there also needs to be an acceptance about not immediately understanding the message, including this one, because it's such a strange deck, such strange imagery, really strange energies depicted in this deck, really weird keywords. But there needs to be an acceptance about not immediately getting the messages that you get from the cards, which then actually, I believe, it opens you up to actually receive the message more. Does that make sense? Because you see, if I don't rely on a system, of course I do, because it's numerology, etc. And the cups, the swords, yeah, the elements. It's late and I'm still a little sick. um, of course there is, right? So I still have my toolkit, my tarot toolkit. But when I look at these cards in the spread, also something else happens. So when I feel, well, Six of Wands, and then keywords archetype and Victor, and then this image, which I actually adore, totally makes sense to me. But just imagine the image doesn't make sense, the words don't make sense. I'm like, what is this type of Six of Wands? Of course, I try to kind of dissect it and solve the puzzle of that one card in itself. But then also, at some point, I let go of it and I just read the energies. I just read what's in front of me. I just read the symbols that are of the subconscious, maybe universal symbols or personal symbols, both equally important in a reading, especially when you're reading for yourself, I would say. You just fall into the images. When you stop trying to understand a deck which doesn't have a clear system, or that is just simply weird imagery, unsolvable imagery, or those decks that people love that are just colors. You just have to relax into it because you don't really have anything to really rely on in doing readings with those. It opens you up to actually receive the message more. That's how you work with weird decks, isn't it? Same with this crazy fucker. This is Terrestrial Tarot. This deck is never leaving my collection. This deck is my library. I haven't used it for a while, but it's so good. It's so good. I actually love the keywords on here. How the Ace of Wands is the rising power. Very phallic, might I add. Here, the Three of Coins is the birth of form. And then you get this blue-green eye. To me, it looks like a rocket that is about to try to go up, right? But then at the same time, it kind of looks like this part kind of looks like that big sphinx. And the hanged one is inversion. Inversion? I mean, yes, that is a word that you would associate with Arcanum 12. But it's not a word you usually use or contemplate. This deck, I love this deck. I love this deck. Do you see how the images are so crazy, outlandish? Why is it called Terrestrial Tarot? Because they took imagery of earthlings, earth animals, but then it looks extraterrestrial. These all look like aliens. They speak to me. They're my little monsters, my little realm. I love that. So again, it speaks to me not just because it's weird or because it's strange and because it doesn't make sense. No, it speaks to me because it makes sense as part of my family. It fits with my favorite deck, Triomphe de la Luna. I don't think I would necessarily use them together. I don't tend to do that. Maybe in a patchwork spread, then I would. But it's very similar. Triomphe de la Luna, they're my little underworld demon friends. Friendly demon friends. And Terrestrial Tarot, very much the same. Crow's Magic is my immortal dreamscape. And then, I mean, I feel like I talked for long enough, but Ancient Mysteries Tarot deck. If you want to see some of these cards, look at last week's video. It's such an ugly deck. I'm sorry, it is. I love it though, and I think we're actually getting along. Yes, yes. Okay, Morgan's Tarot, I was going to show you all of this. This is not a tarot. First First of all, it's not a tarot deck. It's oracle deck with some tarot references. I mean, almost. How can you not make it? How can you make an oracle without referencing some tarot decks, tarot cards? Because the tarot holds everything. Huh? But you see, there's obviously no system in Morgan's tarot. At least I didn't find it. Um, so it's all fun and intuitive hits, and you just get to play with the deck. Maybe all of these decks give very little, actually, because there isn't that, layer upon layer of symbolism like Thoth, for instance, or Smith Way, even Marseille. There isn't the layer upon layer of study, of system, of set ancient symbolism. I mean, you could find all of that in it, but it's just its thing. Like, okay, let's just pull a card, see which card wants to come out of Morgan's tarot. Great. I like this card, Drink Gold. It always reminds me, or tends to remind me, of the alchemical process. Yeah, trying to find the gold within, trying to find the philosopher's stone. There's something esoteric in there, yeah, but then also there's just relax, take care of yourself, drink some tea, obviously. But okay, my mind went to the crazy alchemical system. Fine. Did it show the alchemical process? No. It's just a cup of tea or a cup of something warm, and it says drink gold. So you see how with very little, I feel like all these decks give very little, your mind just goes bananas. It just goes crazy. It just goes off the deep end. I love that. It puts me in such a good mood. And then last but not least, and there's definitely some meaningful and purposeful symbolism in this deck. This is the box I made for a Tantric Dakini Oracle, or Secret Dakini Oracle. I'm just gonna reference you to this old video of mine where I think it's called Tantric or Secret Dakini Oracle is blowing my mind, because it still is. It still is. And I said this, I think, beginning 2023. Sometimes this is all I want from tarot. Sometimes I cannot stand to touch any other deck when it comes to working for myself. Sometimes I have to work with Secret Dakini Oracle and nothing else, because it's tarot and oracle together. It's, in my opinion, beautiful 70s analog collage. There might be a system in there from the guidebook, remembering the guidebook, but I don't know it. I don't know the system. So it's funny also, sometimes I guess by not studying a deck, you get to really develop your own relationship to it. Is that maybe the counter argument of what I stated earlier in this video, where I'm very much team, you have to know your tarot, you have to study your tarot, you have to know your basics alongside making the reading flow, because that too is a skill that is part of your craft, very much part of your craft. Otherwise, you're going to end up, regurgitating tree of life facts when somebody has a very specific question and you kind of forget to read it in context. You know what I mean? So you have to adjust always, always, and no tarot reading is the same. Imagine also having the same question, same cards in the same position, but it's for a different person. I believe there might be some clear nuance in the readings. But okay, I was saying I'm team, yes, you have to study, in my opinion. Yeah, everybody does what they want. I'm not there to piss anybody off, but that's how I feel. And then there's just the magic of not knowing a deck, of not knowing a system, of not even finding a system in a deck, and still being able to read with it and read with it beautifully and helpfully for yourself and others. Because apart from Ancient Mysteries Tarot, I have read for clients with every one of these decks that I just showed you. Now, with the Tantric Dakini, I did very much share the disclaimer, or, told the client beforehand. They told me they wanted a reading with Tantric Dakini, and I told them it will be intuitive. They agreed to it. It was a good reading. I remember that. With all the other ones, of course, Morgan's Tarot, intuitive, no disclaimer needed. Then, Crow's Magic, I do great readings with that one. I'm just telling you, it's like it's a part of me. What else we got? Is that it? Yeah, I'm guessing Five of Coins, Dislocation. The Terrestrial Tarot. Terrestrial Tarot is just a tarot deck, and I get a lot out of it. So again, no disclaimer needed. It's a weird one, but it's a tarot deck. I understand the words and they get me going. And then the images, it's as if they add to that. Or the other way around, depends on which card I have in front of me, where either the keyword is stronger or the imagery is stronger. But either way, it flows into an actual tarot reading that I can stand behind as the reader. So, in conclusion, I do understand these decks, these types of decks, because I know in your case it's going to be different decks in your collection. Excuse me, different decks in your collections. I do understand these decks, but I don't think it's thanks to my tarot knowledge necessarily that I get them. I think it's due to something else. I think it's due to the decks fitting me, how I feel on the inside, and what I'm attracted to. The deck needs to look a certain way so that its looks and therefore symbols align with who I am inside. That is why aesthetics, tarot aesthetics, witchy aesthetics have meaning, purpose. They do. You can not care at all about how things look, but a starch white deck is going to give you something very different from a pitch black deck. Yeah, I think we can agree on that. Finally, I want to open up this discussion in the comments. To you who are watching, if you've made it this far, share in the comments how this works for you. Have you thought of this? Because I think it's a very interesting topic and I want to get into it more with you guys. I'm gonna drink some more tea because my voice is kind of going. I still have this cold and, well, I have to put some effort into getting better. So that's what I'm gonna do now. Thank you everybody for liking, commenting, sharing. It truly does help my videos to get them out there. Thank you to everybody who ordered Magical Guidance Cards, the deck that I created. I know I feel like I have to end by talking about the deck because I've been mentioning these dark, strange decks all throughout this video, and I made the darkest deck out there. All right? Let's not get this mixed up. I made the darkest deck out there. So if you want to order it, it's gonna be linked underneath every video I make from now on. And that too helps me out. Also, I'll be linking my Patreon, and I mean, thank you all, Is this the last video of the year? I think it just might be. So, Happy New Year. We'll see each other in the new year. I might change my uploading schedule. I think I'm going to take some time off, as I tend to do in January. So I'll be uploading whenever. In the meantime, I have plenty of videos out there. I uploaded every week for years. So feel free to check out my channel. There's plenty on there that I know you haven't seen, or maybe even deserves a rewatch. Who knows? Have a wonderful last few days, and I'll see you in the new year. Much love. Bye.